Hello, my fellow Bitcoin miner investors. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I did. Did a lot of stuff around the house, outside. We went to a wedding. It was a busy weekend, but we had a great time. Nonetheless, Bitcoin was pumping over the weekend here. We got over 119,000 as the close for Bitcoin here. So a new all-time high for Bitcoin on the weekly close, which was great. Last week, Bitcoin did pretty good. Miners not so well, right? We talked about it a little bit on Friday as well. We kind of talked a lot about it. We'll take a look at what happened, obviously, last week against Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners. We'll also take a look at the miners' market share of the network hash rate here currently. We'll see where that goes. We have a poll running right now as far as do you guys think that we will see Bitcoin getting to 125,000 this week? Right now, we got 100% of you guys thinking that it will happen here. I mean, we're at 119,000 and change right now. We'll see where things end up at. And we'll get into Q&A here, so it should be pretty short and sweet. Let's get into it all. But as always, you guys know the drill. Not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously, and it doesn't cost you anything. Plus, Bryce and Anthony love it when you guys do that. All right, let's get into what's going on here with Bitcoin right now on the new day. For Bitcoin here, we are on the daily chart here, I believe. Yeah, we are on the daily chart here. So Bitcoin had a nice day today. It was down a little bit on Saturday. It was just down 0.09%, not much. It is up 1.41% right now as it is on Sunday. So we closed at 119,130. That is our new all-time high here for the weekly close on Bitcoin. And we're reaching new all-time highs anyways as it is. Yeah, our new all-time high today was 119,500 on the dot as it was. So pretty good there on today over the weekend here. The only concern that I have here is obviously the Bitcoin futures on the CME. We do have a gap here that happened from, let me see here, this is Thursday to Friday. We do have a gap here. I think this might want to get filled eventually. It doesn't have to get filled right away, but eventually I think this is going to get filled here. So what does that mean for us? Well, I think Bitcoin could go to like 150,000 before we have a pullback. And at that point, we could have a 20-30% correction, where in that time frame, we would probably come down to about 115, 114,000 in change on Bitcoin. So we'd probably fill that gap at that point. But in the meantime, we can definitely still continue to go up here, get to 125,000 maybe this week here, and possibly also go much higher than that before we correct. All right, if we correct. I think we will. Because you can see here already on the daily, Bitcoin's getting kind of hot here, a little bit overextended on the RSI. It's above 70 right now. As is, we still have room to run on the weekly. Actually, we're up on the weekly as it is too. So we're getting up there, right? But we can definitely run on the weekly hot for a couple of weeks before we pull back down. We saw that back here where we had a couple of weeks where we were running definitely hot here before we pulled back down. So I'm thinking probably July is going to be good for us. August is going to probably be good for us. And in September, we'll probably have a correction there when it does happen here. Miners right now obviously are not trading. Today's Sunday. They will be trading tomorrow. So we do have some data on those guys here as well, as far as what's going on with them in the pre-market hours, right? BitDeer is actually down 0.97% here, and this is after hours on July 11th. So this isn't actually the latest data that we have on these guys. So we'll probably get some data happening here, possibly later on. I'm guessing maybe in a couple hours we'll see some data coming in on these guys. But Kango, Bitfarms was 0. Kango was up 1.12%. Cyphered up 0.85. Cleanspark was down 0.16. CORZ was down 0.24. Hive was actually up 1.74. Hut 8 was down 0.14. And we got IREN being up 0.37. Mara being down 0.94. Riot being down 0.56 as well. And TeraWolf was up just a little bit here, 0.41. But as far as the Bitcoin here for the month of July, we're up 10.39%, which is great to see. More in line with what we have seen in the previous bull cycles as well, right? 2021, we were up 18%. 2017, we were up 17%. So I'd like to see us get up to that, maybe another 5% or so for the month. That would be great. That would get us kind of in line where we were in the past as well on that one. Bitcoin ETF inflows. All right, we had 2 straight days over 1 billion inflows from Bitcoin ETFs here. We had it on Thursday, July 10th, and Friday, July 11th, where we had over $1 billion being bought into it. Big purchaser was on Thursday was BlackRock, 448 million, and on Friday also BlackRock, 953 million being bought in. So smart money is definitely buying into Bitcoin, and they I believe that it will go back up even more so this week and possibly the next basically a month and a half or so before we get into September, which then I would expect a little bit of a correction here. So things are looking pretty good here. Miners hopefully will react to everything that's going on here with Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin being over 119,000, that should help out. we did have something that kind of, well, they didn't plummet, but I would say definitely dropped the per petahash. So the Bitcoin hash price index went from being at $64 down to $59. So about a $5 difference there. That was a result of the difficulty there. We had an adjustment of 7.96% here right now. So that definitely dropped the price per petahash down for us, for the miners. We are right now estimated difficulty adjustment is going to be about negative 3.34% going on here. But we still have quite a, what do we have, about 12 more days, not even that, 10 more days to go or something like that, 10 to 12 more days to go before we have that next adjustment here on it. So we're still a ways out from that. Yeah, difficulty adjustment date estimate is going to be around July 26th here. We're at 13, so about 13 days more or less on that one, okay? So that always has an impact on the miners. They're going to be generating less Bitcoin, basically, overall. But that's for everybody. It's not just one of the miners. It's going to be across the board here as it is. All right, so that's it on Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners here really quick. Let's take a look at how they have performed here over the last week here. This was updated today. And I tracked the miners and Bitcoin from Friday to Friday just to make things easy. And we can see here, we also look at how far the miners and like strategy has gone up from the last 52-week lows and how far away they are from the 52-week highs as well. All right, so on this one, we can see that strategy has outperformed everything here. Strategy is up 324% in the last 52 weeks from its bottom. Kango is up 281%, but Kango basically switched over to becoming a miner in November of last year, so the data might be a little bit skewed there. IREN's up 216%, Cypher 215. Those guys are heading neck and neck pretty much on it. BitDeer is up 145% from its low. Bitcoin's up 139% here. Core 101%, Riot 100%, Cleanspark 96%, and Marathon 95% as it is right now. So they're starting to catch up here to Bitcoin a little bit more. We saw a little bit more of a disparity between some of these miners here in the last couple of weeks, but it's definitely picking back up here. So I expect these guys to probably outperform here Bitcoin going into the next 3 to 6 months or so. But we'll see. And then you can see on the bottom chart here how far away they are from their 52-week highs. Obviously, Bitcoin's really close to that, 1.5% roughly. Next one that's the closest would be IREN here, 12.5% away only. And then we got strategy being 20% away from its 52-week high as well. Going down here on the weekly, how did the miners perform against Bitcoin here? Well, Bitcoin kind of outperformed them this week. Remember last week when we talked about it, Bitcoin actually was at the very end of things where we have the opposite thing happening here. So based on what we saw the prior week, I think the miners kind of front ran Bitcoin here for what the action that we saw obviously this week here. And then this week we had some profit taking happening here. We also had some possible options expirations on Friday. So the miners were down Friday as it was. But Bitcoin was up 9%, Marathon up 8%, Strategy up 8%, Cleanspark was up 3%, Riot 2% along with Kango, Hive was basically flat, Cypher was down 3%, IREN was down 4%, BitDeer was down 4% as well, Core was down 31%. We know the reason why Core was down on that one. When we look at 4 weeks, things definitely change here. Bitcoin being up 14% from 4 weeks ago. Only ones that have underperformed Bitcoin was Kango, BitDeer, and Core here. Everybody else has outperformed Bitcoin by at least, it looks like somewhere around 2x. Right, Marathon's up 27%, Cleanspark up 36%, Riot up 28%, Hive up 22%, Cypher up 58%, IREN up 65%. And then when we look at 8 weeks ago, we can see Bitcoin's only up 10%. So strategy's kind of close to it as well, along with Hive. BitDeer's actually down 13% from then. Core is up only 16%, so like slightly outperformed. But then we got Marathon being up 18%, almost a 2x on it. Cleanspark up 3x, basically 29% here, along with Riot. 36%, Kango 30%, Cypher up 52%, IREN 93%. Huge run up here in IREN over the last couple of weeks. And you can see here even more on this one. Bitcoin's up 24% here. Everybody has outperformed Bitcoin here over the last 12 weeks. Marathon up 51%, Strategy up 37%, Cleanspark up 68%, Riot up 92%, Kango 43%, Hive 54%, Cypher up 148%, IREN up 190%, BitDeer 74%, and Core at 89%. Love seeing that. Love seeing the miners outperform here, Bitcoin, at least recently, right? In the past, we've been in seems like we've been fighting a headwind on us when it comes to the miners here. But at least in the last 12 weeks, it looks like we have a tailwind on us, which is pushing us forward more so than Bitcoin, which is nice to see. It's kind of more of in line with what I would expect the miners to do here, especially getting past a year, the halving event. going into the nice bull run that we're seeing here right now as it is. But here's what we had here on the table here. So we're getting a little bit more mixed here results here for this past week. We had mostly up, some in the red here, but prior week was all green. You can see some of the miners were up 36%, 51%, 59%, 35, 60%. Right, so they had a fantastic prior week, the week of 7-3. That was an awesome week for them. Then we had a red week, green week, 2 red weeks, and so hopefully we start seeing a lot more green here going forward on it as it is. All right, so that's it for that one. So we covered that, how the miners do for the past week against Bitcoin. Next, we're going to take a quick look at the, which one is it? Where is it at? Bitcoin hash rate comparison here. So on this one, we were comparing Bitcoin miners against the network hash rate here. Network hash rate actually for the month of June actually went down, the average at least. I look at the 30-day average on that, and that one did come down here. So network hash rate averaged about 868 exahash. The miners actually went up to 286 exahash. That was also with the inclusion of Kango being added to it, and along with IREN having huge growth there, being up 9 exahash during the month. BitDeer as well. Who else? Cleanspark, right? They added quite a bit here. So you can see that down here. We can see that the miners added about 20.69 exahash in the month, which was really, really good here. And the network actually went down 31 exahash here. So that helped them out here. Down below, we can see the public Bitcoin miners percentage of Bitcoin network hash rate. That is up to 33%. I did take out 2 miners, Hut 8 and Bitfarms. So those 2 were taken out, but we added Kango in there. And as a result, we're up here, right? But still, you can see all this, how this has played out here overall. Miners have been kind of around 29, 28, 30% or something like that. Nice increase here from them on that one. And then month over month difference here, the miners increased by 7.8% overall. So that was a nice increase there for them. And then you can see here the miners, month over month, miners hash rate market share increase, decrease. Looks like everybody that I track at least increased their market share in the past month here. The highest increase was from IREN being up 1% increase in their market share. BitDeer was up 0.3. Kango was basically flat, I guess you could say. More or less. Cypher was up 0.37 as well. Cleanspark was up 0.5%. Core was flat or probably even down. Hive was up a little bit here, 0.1, 0.1%. Mara was basically flat, up a little bit along with Riot. So it's nice to see that those guys are actually increasing their hash rate and taking up market share as well. I love seeing that because that means they're going to be generating more revenue here going forward as well. We know that some of these guys are going to be pausing their expansion plans. Riot, IREN as well. Who else is going to be pausing here possibly? I think those are the only 2 that are going to be pausing here. Kango's going to see some nice growth happening in the month of July. They should be at 50 exahash by the end of the month here. I think they should be. Because they're taking over some machines that are already plugged in, so they should just get that hash rate right away. So they'll be increasing here. Cleanspark should be growing as well. Hive is going to be growing. Cypher's going to be growing. BitDeer's going to be growing. Mara should be growing. So we only have really Riot and maybe IREN that are going to be flat here right now, as it is. Okay. So that's it. Just a quick little update on what's going on here. We'll see what happens later on this week. Bitcoin, like I said, is doing pretty good here for the month already, as it is for the last week as well. And love to see it get to 125,000 this week. Love to see maybe go even further than that. Definitely love to see it get to like 150,000 here. We'll see when that happens, whether it's going to be this quarter or next quarter. Regardless, whenever it happens, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, not if, in my opinion. But that's it. So spreadsheets are available to all you guys that are Patreon members. Greatly appreciate your guys' support there. If you want to join and become a member and help support what I do, along with get access to our private Discord server, you are more than welcome to do that. Link is down in the description for that. It's a couple bucks a month. You might be able to find a couple spots that are still open in like the $4 or $5 range, which I think is a steal. A lot of other analysts charge a heck of a lot more for the data that they provide. I charge very, 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 very low, probably too low. But I just want to get it out there for you guys, obviously, and I'm not here to make millions on this. It's just to help support what I do, so that way my wife doesn't yell at me for spending time on this stuff and not getting anything for it. All right, but that's it. Let's get into Q&A here, see what you guys have to say, and we'll call it a day here. Oh, also, later on at 9 o'clock, I will be joining Ernest Hamilton on X Spaces. We're going to be talking about all the miners here as well. So that should be an interesting conversation. Definitely join us there. That's going to be at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Okay. Let's get into Q&A here. All right. Chart is working again. We got the ticker working in the bottom there as well. So we're looking pretty good here as it is. All right. As always, if you guys could preface your questions with a question mark or a Q, I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to scroll my way up. We don't see too many comments here or questions, which is going to be a pretty quick one today. All right, let's see what we got here. WP says, "LOL, Anthony loves it." You know, in Bryce Anthony's show, Bryce always says, hit the like button, subscribe. Anthony loves it. That's kind of where I got it from. I love those guys. Those guys are great. All right. Ahmed Seb, you have experience in the miners. Are they ever going to run like last bull run? Are they waiting for the end of the lag or something? That is a great question. They have definitely not run like they have last bull run, but we still have about 6 months of possibly good run here. That might be the change that we were waiting for in these guys, especially if Bitcoin gets to 125,000, 150,000, then maybe 180, 200,000. I think that's going to be the catalyst that finally pushes them up. Now, will we see 70x from the bottom on some of these guys? Probably not. Right? We saw that with Marathon last cycle. I think if we can, we already see IREN's up 13x, which is really good from the bottom, which was back in December of 2022 and January 2023. So I would expect maybe somewhere around there, some of these guys might do a 10x from the bottom to maybe a 20x at most. But maybe they go even higher than that. Right, but we're not going to see that 70x like we saw. I don't think that's going to happen here. The reason for that is because we have just so much more on-ramps to Bitcoin, right? You got the miners, you got MicroStrategy, you got other MetaPlanet, you got Semler. There's so many ways you can get into it. You also have the Bitcoin ETFs as well. So there's just so many more ways to get into Bitcoin exposure than in the past here, where in the past you had basically Bitcoin or the Bitcoin miners to get into it. So for that reason, I think we won't see the same kind of action as we saw last time, but it will still be good action. Who can sneeze at getting a 10x from the bottom if you got into it at that point, or even getting a 2 to 5x or something like that, right? You're not going to get that in the regular market, even if you put it in the S&P 500. You'll be lucky if you get between 10 and 20%, right? So the performance here is going to be great, but it's also very volatile, right? So you got to take both things. It's not easy to hold these things. It's definitely for the strong stomached people that have a strong stomach or strong heart, right? Because these things can definitely take out the legs from under you every once in a while. And you just got to be patient, buy into them, dollar cost average into them, I think, and then you'll actually be doing pretty good, right? I'll be happy if I get a 2x on these guys. A lot of these guys already, Cleanspark and IREN already have 2x. But I'd like to at least 2x from where I am right now. That would be awesome. So that's it. Neville says BTC will break 300,000 by end of year. Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. All right, Neville, for all those watching, don't forget to give Seb's video a like. I appreciate that, Neville. Thank you. It's the least we can do for everything he gives us for free. I appreciate that. Thank you. Ja has a question here. Hi, Seb. Do you think HUT 8 will hit 45 like last year? HUT 8, okay, so that one's going to be interesting. And the reason I say it's going to be interesting because they are obviously moving all of their Bitcoin mining side of things to American BTC. So if you look at the screen here, let's see how it's doing right now. It's at $21. So if Bitcoin does a 2x, they should get close to it, right? They should at least do a 2x from where we are right now. So I think it is possible for them. I want to see more details on obviously that merger with Griffin and American BTC. How will that play out? What are the details of it? I want to see some more details on it. And then, obviously HUT 8 is going to have 80% of that. How is that going to be reported on their balance sheet? Also, how is that going to be reported for them, right? So what impact does that have on them? With American BTC being a separate company, I just need to see more details on it. But I think it's possible, right? Bitcoin going up to 200,000, I think they might double from here, right? Which wouldn't be too far off. I think that's possible. All right, let's go back here. Sadie, as always, thank you so much for the likes reminder and the thumbs up. Nathan, make it make sense. Miners with HODL are up the least. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, right? Marathon, if you look at the Marathon and their market cap compared to what their HODL is, it's like 89% is their HODL in their market cap. Doesn't make any sense. Why is that? I don't know. I don't know if it's just because you have strategy, you got MetaPlanet, you got also Semler in there, you got other companies that are getting into the strategy game, and those guys are getting a little bit of a better premium there. Is it because, I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense, right? Because those guys have to buy it at spot prices, basically, or they can get it on OTC desks or things like that, but they're still more or less paying spot price for Bitcoin when they're accumulating it. The miners, on the other hand, can actually mine it at a much lower cost, right? A lot of these guys, like Cleanspark, mines it at like $40,000, $50,000 per Bitcoin, all in cash cost there. So they're getting it at a much, well, they're getting Bitcoin at a discount. Why shouldn't that valuation be? I don't get it either. To be honest with you, I would think that the miners would at least get valued on their Bitcoin mining side of things and also on the HODL that they have. Especially if you think Bitcoin's going up here. Okay. Let's see. Dynamite Uber. Good evening, Seb. Do you think Cleanspark will be 5% or 10% down tomorrow? Bitcoin being up, I mean, they were down on Friday. I would expect them to kind of maybe bounce a little bit here on tomorrow. But it all depends where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin starts going down, they'll probably come down as well. All right, John Kurt's got a question here. Trying to diversify, holding IREN, Cypher, maybe Riot, not Cleanspark. What do you think? Well, I like IREN, I like Cypher, maybe Riot. So maybe you own it, maybe you don't own it. Riot is a question mark there. If they can get an HPCI deal, that thing will pop, right? Cleanspark, I think, is also really, really good. I have a lot of that one, and I think that one will do good going forward. How well will it do? I don't know. But I'm still betting on it, at least doing a 2x from where it's at. So it's going to be up to you which ones you want to get. But I definitely like IREN and Cypher as well, and I love Cleanspark too. So Riot, I'm a little bit iffy on it. But again, if it gets an HPCI deal, that thing can pop quickly. All right, Tom Harrison's got a question. It seems the miners don't move when Bitcoin moves at night or when the stock market is closed, almost like Bitcoin has to move when it is daytime in order for the miners to move up. I haven't really looked into it, but you might be right there. Yeah, it's, well, institutional based, right? Institutions, big money is moving those things mostly. We as retail are a very, very small part of that. And you got shorts in there as well. That doesn't help things out. So, yeah. Let's see. BJ says, I just want Bitfarms to hit $3 or $4. That would be great. I'd love to see that as well. Ahmed, you guys ever feel like the miners you hold won't run and the ones you don't hold run, like DF, LOL? Yeah, I mean, well, I held IREN for a long time. I've held Cleanspark even longer. They're finally starting to run. IREN just blew up here in the last couple of weeks, which was nice. So that one's finally getting some love there. When we've seen other ones like TerraWolf going up, we've seen Core going up, we've seen Cypher, and others also had pretty good ones last year, right? And then some of the other guys didn't. But maybe this time around, we're going to see our guys actually start running here. Let's see. Sadie's got a question here. How long do you see the Bitmain S21 staying relevant at scale? The miners, the ASIC miner, their S21, for a couple of years. You should be able to get at least 3 years out of those things. And that is as long as the network, well, you can even see it longer too, though. So the interesting dichotomy here is that if Bitcoin doesn't go into a bear market and Bitcoin continues to go up and the network hash rate doesn't go crazy, you could see these machines being even relevant, 5 years out potentially. Because what we've seen in the past is the ASICs, as Bitcoin price retraces, goes into a bear market, we've seen them obviously generating a lot less revenue here. But as Bitcoin stays up in these levels, potentially going up even higher for a longer period of time, and not having a bear market, and the network hash rate just, continue to increase quite steadily here, they could possibly run for even longer. So, but I'm saying like 3 years is usually like the maximum on these things, but we could go even longer than that, as long as, like I said, Bitcoin stays up. Okay, let's see. CG's got a question here. Do you know what the Clarity bill will do for the miners? I do not know. That is the first time I'm hearing of the Clarity bill. Is it called something else potentially? I'm trying to think what the other one was. I know there's like 2 bills that are supposed to be introduced, from what I remember. Let's see. Bitchin82's got a question here. Seems like many are looking for miners to run like meme stocks again, but I think they are more mature, more shares, making it more difficult to control. Short and long shorts and long must get profits. Yeah, I would agree with you there also, right? These guys have definitely grown quite a bit. They have a lot more shares also out there. So yeah, like I said in the beginning, I don't expect them to do a 70x, but some of these guys might do a 10x to 20x from the bottom. That was back in December of 2022. All right, SK says, question, IREN is already 3x from $5 to 18. Is it worth holding on to or instead buy miners, which hasn't run yet? That's always the toughest thing to answer. Should you hold on to it because something else might run up higher? I think there's more room for it to run up. I think it should still be priced higher than where it is right now without an HPCI deal. If they get an HPCI deal, whatever that might be, hopefully it's a nice one, that thing can go up even higher, right? Quickly double from where it is right now. So it's just a matter of what's your conviction, and what's your time frame on it. If it's a short time frame and you want to play the trading game, trade it, right? But if you're investing for the longer time and you think that's going to be worth even longer, I mean, Mike Alfred seems to think it's going to be worth over $100 eventually sometime, right? Whether it's going to be this year, next year, or in a couple of years, he thinks it's going to go up much higher here. So that's always tough, right? You got to take profits when you feel like you've earned enough, because otherwise, what does Jim Cramer always say? Pigs get slaughtered, right? So don't be a pig, I guess. But I'm holding out for a little bit more. I think it still can go up more from where it's at right now. Say it again. Thank you so much for the likes and helps. Yeah, likes help the channel for sure. Ryan, did you say that you thought BTC would get to 150,000 before it pulled back to fill the gap on the chart around? Yes, I did. The reason for that is we have seen that before where Bitcoin does, go up a little bit more. It can go up more before we have a correction, 20, 30%, whatever it might be, and then we go back down to 115,000 potentially. That could happen. I mean, we saw that last year. Bitcoin got to 73,000, went down to 42,000 or something like that. We had a 30% correction there. We had a correction here just this year alone from January to April. Bitcoin got over 100,000, and then we pulled back down to 70-some thousand, right? So it was another 30% correction there. So we could see the same thing happening here as Bitcoin goes up. A nice percentage point. All right, guys, hi Seb, did you see the news on Hut's new Vegas site? Think the stock will pump tomorrow? I saw some news about it being built out and the way, but I don't know if that's the one you're talking about there. But I did see something about it, that the site is very nicely done there. All right, D. Royce, if company stock go the way CORZ for HPC, I'll pass. Give me Cleanspark. So you're talking about like if IREN or somebody like that gets an HPCI deal and then somebody tries to buy them out and it's all share deal. Yeah, I would agree with you there then. All right. Silver Moon, if Bitcoin hits 150,000 before correction, will miners correct before that since they front run Bitcoin? I'm selling this time, not going through another long correction. The miners might, yeah, I mean, if the miners are front running Bitcoin, which sometimes they can do a week in advance, even to 2 weeks in advance, they will definitely correct. I haven't seen anything that would tell me otherwise. I mean, we saw it this year when Bitcoin corrected from 108,000 down to 72, 74,000, whatever it was. And the miners corrected double that, right? They were down 50, 60, 70% at that point. So, yeah, I would think the correction would be there as well for the miners. All right. Chuck's got a question here. How much is Mara shorted and when do you feel shorts might start to cover? Bitcoin going up more will help. But even then, they might be even more emboldened thinking that these guys are even more overvalued. So I would think as Bitcoin goes up in value, I think that's when the shorts will start to cover a little bit more, especially as the stock prices go up. And you might see a little bit short squeeze. Mara right now, I think, is like 28, 27% short. So that's last time we checked on it. Let me see if that's correct before. Let me see your short interest. Where's it at? Weekly performance, miners cap. Shorted. Okay. This is as of 6:15, so it's a little delayed here. But looking at it, let me see, pull this chart up. Marathon, yeah, it's 28% shorted here on the screen. So you get average percent of floated short, 28% on that one. Okay. We'll get this updated probably this week, maybe. We'll get an updated numbers for them for the end of June there. So we'll see where they are at that point. All right, talked about that one. All right, B2 question. If CORZ did not agree to the current deal, what is their stock price? Seems profitable, near 2.5 next year, and forward multiple of 10x would be, 10x multiple would be $25, right? Somewhere around there. Yeah, I mean, if they didn't do the deal, that's an interesting question also, because why would they do the deal if they think that they can generate that much revenue, right? Is there something else going on in the background where perhaps some of the long lead items are taking longer to get in and is going to take them longer to start generating that revenue there? Yeah, I don't know. I really do not know. Sadie, you're very welcome as always. Okay, B2 has another question here. Seems all miners are up from bottom. Most of my holdings are up average 2.9x. Nice. Except Bitfarms. What do you expect? What do you expect reasonable multiple for miners' profits should be? Well, that's dependent on your own risk tolerance, right? I mean, you can go up even higher. I'm looking to get at least from what I invested, at least like a 3 to 5x on it. That's kind of where I'd like to see it. I'm not banking on getting a 10x. If I do, it's great, but I'm going to start probably dollar cost averaging out. So it's going to depend on what is your risk tolerance. Where do you want to get out? When do you see things as having a huge impact on your life potentially? That's kind of when you would get out. Let's see. Ramani, I have a gut feeling not rooted in any TA that the rate cuts to be announced in September will provide one last pump for October before a pullback. That might help out, but we might actually start the month in the red, because that'll take probably about 2 weeks in before we have the rate cuts. Maybe at that point, maybe start going back up here, or we could also be going down at the end of August as well. The reason I say it is historically, July and August have been pretty good months here in bull runs, right? So last time in 2021, July, August were green, September was red. 2017, same thing. July, August, green, September, red. 2013, July, August in the green, September in the red. But if we do get rate cuts, maybe that changes the dynamic there and we actually get a positive month, a green month, where we would have July, August, September, and then green, October, November, and that's how we get to 200,000 by the end of the year potentially, right? Because even on the bull runs, yeah, I mean, all the bull runs, December has been red here as well. We had a 21 being red. 2017 was actually an anomaly here, was green. But 2013 was in the red as well. So it's right now, we'll see where we end up at. But that might be the way we get to 200,000 by the end of the year, right? Rate cuts in September, possibly again in October or November. And that pushes us up higher here going forward as it is. And as long as we have all these companies that are adopting Bitcoin as their strategy or as their treasury, continue to buy in over and over and over again, we know that the exchanges are getting low on Bitcoin along with OTC desks. Supply and demand squeeze is happening here, which I love seeing. All right, let's see if we got any final questions. If not, we'll call it a day here. Let's see. Okay, talked about that one. Dynamite Uber's got a question here. Do you think CoreWeave gives CORZ executives a sweet deal to sell the company out for a all-stock deal? Oh, I'm sure they're getting a nice deal, right? They're going to probably have to be there for a year to 2 years to get those rewards or whatever you want to call it, the incentives. But yeah, I'm sure they're going to get a nice deal there. That's usually the way it goes. All right. As Romney's got a question, do you see yourself holding IREN Cypher alone as long-term plays since they have HPCI potential? I still have 1,000 shares in both, 932 and 4.3 average. I mean, that I don't know, right? When do they get the HPCI deal? Is it this year? Is it next year? And in the interim, will they still perform like Bitcoin miners? Because that's basically what they are still, even though at least IREN has some revenue coming in from HPCI business, and they bought some more GPUs as well to build out for their own customers, smaller customers, but they're generating like 24 million right now a year as it is on that. So it's nothing to sneeze about. Now, if they do get a deal or something like that, then you might be able to hold it on longer, because I think that the impact of Bitcoin drawdowns or corrections that are going to be happening here in Bitcoin might be less of an impact. Maybe. We really didn't see that with Core, though. But Core's not generating revenue at the time either from the HPCI. So it would be, we'll have to wait and see. Actually, we'll have to wait and see if they're generating revenue from HPCI, and it's substantial revenue. And if Bitcoin goes down, do those not correct as much as the other miners? And at that point, you may hold on to them for longer. And then depending on what their roadmap is going forward, how much more megawatts are they going to be developing, how much more infrastructure they're going to be building, and things like that, right? It's going to be then on them to get new customers in order for the stock to go up. So, yeah, that's kind of the way I would look at it. Tom Harrison's got a question. I cannot see why the miners that hodl don't explode, because isn't the whole idea to get as much Bitcoin as you can, i.e. Michael Saylor? Yeah, I don't get it either, Tom. I have no idea why they're not performing as well. You know, we can look at the miners here, and we'll look at the sats tomorrow as far as what you're getting for those things based on the amount of Bitcoin mined. So we'll look at Bitcoin mined. We'll look at a couple of things for BTC, basically stats on Bitcoin miners tomorrow. But I wanted to show you guys at least, let's go through the miners that have hodl right now. So if we look at the ones that have hodl, like BitDeer, their hodl value is 178 million. That hodl to market cap is 6.87%. Kango's got 3,879 Bitcoin. Market cap to hodl is 48% there. So definitely they're being valued half and half, more or less, on their operations and on their hodl there. Cypher has a smaller hodl there, 1,063. That's only valued 5.81%, so that's not too bad. That's actually pretty good. So they're being valued more so on the probably megawatts, hash rate growth here, and all that stuff. Cleanspark has a huge hodl, 12,600. That's valued at 1.5 billion. That's 42% of the company. So they're being valued kind of half and half, a little bit more so on their operations than that one. CORZ Scientific doesn't have a hodl. Hive has, we don't know what Hive has right now, to be honest. But last number that I saw was 610. That's about 19% hodl the market cap. IREN doesn't hodl anything. Mara has a huge hodl. They're at 50,000, I think, already as it is. Like 88% of their hodl is their market, or 88% of their market cap is their hodl position. Right? What about all their infrastructure, all their operations that they have, all the sites that they have? They're not being really valued on that either. So, or it's the other way around. They're being valued on their operations, but not the hodl, depending how you look at it. Same thing for Riot. Riot's got a pretty big hodl there as well, 19,273, 51%. Right? So, yeah, they should be getting valued more on, I would think, on the potential of Bitcoin to go to 200,000. You would think that the stocks would go up, because that value that they have there is going to be basically double what they have right now. So, like, Riot has 2.3 billion. Bitcoin goes up to 200,000. That's going to be valued at roughly 4 billion, right? That's huge. And then also their operations and things like that, the HPCI potential. Yeah, they should be definitely valued much higher, but it is what it is. It's, you know, it's being run by the big money, the institutions and things like that, and they're valuing these things like they are. So they could be going along on one thing and shorting the miners too, like we have seen in the past. But yeah, eventually I would think that would change, but we'll see. All right, what else we got here? B82 says, I don't like HODL. If it means increased dilution or debt for HODL, I buy IBIT. Yeah, I mean, if you want to buy Bitcoin straight out, yeah, you can definitely do that. But there's also ways to play it. I think there's ways to play where you can dilute a little bit and HODL at much lower prices, especially if these guys are able to mine it at a much lower cost. You should get that premium for it as well, which we're not seeing there. All right. Dynamite Uber, executives get the golden parachute while investors get hosed. A tale as old as time. Yep. BA2, miners should be valued on their future BTC to be mined, multiple of future profits. I would agree. I agree with there. All right, let's see here. Midwest Picker says 120,000 is right here. Did we get to 120,000 already? Let me see, where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin's still at 119,000, but we're almost there. Okay, DeFi, do you expect a dip in BTC soon? No, not yet. We can still run up for a couple more weeks. When I say couple, I'm saying like 3 to 5 weeks, somewhere around there before we have a correction. But we also could have a dip of 5% and go back up, right? What am I buying? I bought last week more IREN shares, more Cleanspark shares, and a little bit of Bitfarms that I had leftover cash. So I bought a little bit more of that. And then my dad was buying IREN and Cypher last week. He sold a portion of his CORZ there. All right. Silver Moon, are you going to hold through another potential correction at 150,000? I may sell some. All right, depending where we go with the miners and things like that, I may sell a portion. I may not sell everything, but I may sell a portion. We'll have to wait and see. And then the scary part for me is obviously selling that and then buying back in, maybe a little bit lower. But then if things go even lower than that, and then I got profits that I got to sell, pay on, and then I would have to possibly end up selling even lower by the end of December. So that's always been kind of in the back of my head fear. All right. What's the risk buying Mara if they have 50,000 in BT? What's the risk? I think the only thing that's risky about them is their operations, right? They can't seem to maintain a prolonged period of time of great mining. We saw great mining in May. June was down 25%. We've seen that a couple times happen before over the last couple of years, where they have one great month and then for whatever reason, the next month, things go down 20, 30%. I'm not sure exactly why, but it happens. So I think that's the only thing there. That's the only real risk that I can see. Yes, they have a higher cost to mine. Yes, they have a lot of dilution because they're hodling everything. So I think that's the kind of risk there, is the dilution and them not being able to perform as well as some of the other miners. All right. Let's see. Okay, talk about that. Brad's got a question here. What is the latest short numbers on the miners? I don't have the latest data. I'm waiting for that to come out. Hopefully it'll be out this week and we'll cover it obviously at that point. The data that I do have is from 6/15. So that's getting kind of older. We'll have to wait and see what the latest data is. B82 says buy Bitfarms and Hive. Well, I bought a little bit of Bitfarms there. We'll see how it does. But I still own a bunch. So I just kind of added to it and made it so it's a nice even number. I think it's now an even 8,000 shares that I have there. So I still own quite a bit. Hive has got great growth here. The only thing is, can they get the love from the investors, from the institutions as well? Can they pump the stock up? And the only reason I say that is because their operations are outside the United States. They don't have anything in the United States other than their corporate office or one of their offices in the United States for reporting purposes. Okay. All right. S. Ramani says, yeah, I bought 500 shares Bitfarms as well last week before the pump. Nice. All right. Meat Force, you thought this was a question. Gotcha. I just wanted to say cheers and appreciate you sharing your thoughts. All the best. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Which miners are profitable? Well, historically, IREN has been the only one that's been profitable. But when you include like the FSB rules, then that changes for a lot of the miners here. Hopefully, Cleanspark will be also one of the miners that's profitable without that for Q2, but we'll see when that does come out here. Let's see, D-Royce, Seb, I think if you sell a stock and buy back in 3 months, you don't have to pay taxes. No, I don't think that works that way. I'm not a tax expert, so don't quote me on that, but I don't think that's the way it works. Any upcoming catalyst for the miners? Possible rate cuts in September. It's going to be a nice catalyst for that. Bitcoin adoption continuing to increase, which is going to be a catalyst. Bitcoin price going up also is going to be a catalyst. What else? Cooler weather is going to be a catalyst because they shouldn't have to curtail as much. So looking into like September, October timeframes in the winter months, obviously. But yeah. All right. Will IREN be the top miners in market cap? I mean, right now they're not too far. Well, they're still a ways off from Mara, but they definitely, I think, are in the top below Mara, I think, right now. We'll take a look at that maybe later on this week to see where the market cap is of those guys. If they get a great deal for HPCI, yeah, they could definitely get the top bidding there for sure. All right. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so I'm just going to call you Mr. X. Question, any miners earnings coming up soon? Hut 8 has provided theirs. They're going to be out in, August 4th, August 5th. I can't remember exactly. I know that they're coming up in early August. So we got that, and I'm sure other miners will start reporting as well somewhere around the beginning of August to later on in August. IREN might be a little late because they have their end of year at the end of June. So that one has to be audited. It's going to be possibly towards the end of August that we see that one, unless they really get things cooking on that one. All right. B2's got a question. Will any pure miners remain after next halving? Yes. Yeah. I mean, right now we really only have, well, Cango, Mara, Cleanspark, and then some of the smaller miners as well might be in that boat as well. But yeah, I think they will. Right. All right. Let's see. Marcus says, I think there's a big decision in Congress this week on crypto. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure on that one. I'd have to look at that one. All right. But that is it, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. Come to all you guys' questions. And then again, if you guys want to join me and Ernest on X, we'll be starting at 9 o'clock here. I'll retweet that space as well. If you guys are following me on X, you guys will be able to find it there. We'll definitely talk about a bunch of miners again here with that one. And then DeFly is asking, why isn't Mara your top miner? Isn't Mara your top miner? Well, the reason is their operations and cost of mining Bitcoin. That's always been my problem with them for the most part. And the dilution. I'm not a big fan of them diluting all the time. So there's really three things. Uptime, operations, and dilution. Those have been the sticking points to me. I do own a little Mara shares. I bought some Mara shares back, what was it been now, 2 months, possibly. Some guy asked me if he buys Cleanspark and IREN if I would buy Mara. I'm like, yeah, if you do that, I'll buy Mara. So I bought like 140 shares, I think, of Mara or something like that. And it's actually in the green now. I think I'm up 20% on it, whereas some of the other miners I'm up more. So that is it. All right. All right. Yeah, that's it. All right, we'll see what happens tomorrow with the market. We'll see where Bitcoin ends up at. It's still holding at 119,000, which is nice. And then we'll see what miners do and everything else. And we'll talk about it at tomorrow's night. All right. Love you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great week. Until then.